Hello and welcome to the fiscal year 25-26 MTW Admin Plan, ACOP, and Public Housing Lease Changes presentation. My name is Nicholas Tennessee. I am the Policy and Planning Coordinator within our Strategy, Data, and Innovation Department. We oversee the entire MTW plan. And so today we'll be going through some of the updates and changes that are coming for our new fiscal year that starts on July 1st for our Move to Work program designation. So a little bit of background of our Move to Work designation. It is a designation that comes down from the Housing and Urban Development federal programs that allows Opportunity Home to improve the lives of our residents and really carry out our vision and mission by giving us a few different tools that allow us to operate our housing agency in a different way than most public housing authorities are able to. So one of those tools is through regulatory waivers. These waivers are something that we submit to HUD to then kind of bypass certain regulations that HUD puts on most public housing authorities, so that we're able to innovate and kind of create new policies and programs for residents to see if it's something that HUD is able to then pass down to other housing authorities that don't have this designation. And a major tool that we get is we do have funding fungibility. And so this funding, there's multiple different streams of funds that come in through HUD. Some of them include the Housing Choice Voucher Block Grants, various other grants, as well as rental and income charges that we charge in public housing. And all of these funds get put into a bucket, and that bucket is then kind of pushed out into different uses. So we can use them for various things like public housing operating, capital improvements, other operating expenses among our Housing Choice Vouchers. And another major way is through flexible uses. And these flexible uses are kind of what help us carry out some of these MTW activities. And so each year we are able to kind of implement new activities, close out activities that maybe aren't working, or continue activities that we do see working, and continue reporting to HUD on how they're doing. So when we talk about these activities that we have, a lot of them are policies or programs that our housing authority puts in place to then kind of test out and see if it's something that we're able to continue on by providing these different programs for residents. But when we talk about these activities, they do have to hit one of three statutory objectives through HUD. And so one of them is cost efficiency or effectiveness. So we try to reduce our overall costs or achieve greater effectiveness through these federal expenditures. Another one is housing choice. So we have to be able to try to increase housing choices for our low-income families that we serve. And another one is self-sufficiency. So we're trying to give incentives to families to try to get them to go to college or get better work, better sources of income to be able to move on and become self-sufficient and move past housing. So when we look at these activities, they have to hit one of these statutory objectives. So when we look at the overall timeline, this is almost a year-long process that happens for this MTW plan. And so in the later fall time, starting in October, going all the way through the end of the year / beginning of January, we begin a planning process in our Strategy, Data, and Innovation Department, where we begin soliciting feedback from various residents through strategic plan surveys that we do throughout the year. We begin to align priorities with our executive team and senior teams internally. And then we coordinate with various internal departments on different program policy updates, capital plans, and housing expansion plans, so that we are then prepared to release the draft of the MTW plan per HUD regulations for public comment. And so our public comment period started on February 27th. We released the draft MTW plan that is posted on our website for a 30-day public comment period. This is the time for anybody in the community to be able to give comments about what they're seeing in the MTW plan, if they wanted to provide any comments or anything that they wanted to say about the plan. So we're able to take those comments and then turn them into actionable plans. So we will be having a public hearing at a Operations and Real Estate Committee meeting on March 18th. And then in April, we will take the draft MTW plan to our Board of Commissioners to then be approved and submitted to HUD. Throughout May and June, HUD then comes back with any questions that they may have or any clarifications that they're looking for. And then HUD approves the plan, and it is then implemented beginning July 1st. So like I said, the MTW public comment period started on February 27th. It is a 30-day public comment period and will go until March 28th. Anybody in the community is welcome to email any of their comments that they have to mtw@homesa.org anytime throughout this public comment period, or you can mail physical comments to our headquarters here at 818 South Flora Street, and you can make it the attention to strategy, data, and innovation. And you can also go online to homesa.org/public notices to submit your comments online. So going over our outreach plan and how we plan to kind of engage our community to get these comments, we do have 4 resident consultations that are going on in person. One has already happened at the HB Gonzalez location that we have. One will be going on in our Mirasol's home community. One will be going on at Villa Casey with our resident councils that we have. And then one will be happening here at our central office, both hybrid, in person and virtual. And at all of these presentations, we do have interpretation services to ensure that we're able to reach not only English, but also Spanish speakers. And we will also have an internal staff consultation with our employees virtually to get comments from the employees within our organization. We are also recording this video currently to be able to post for the public to review the updates that are coming out and then provide comments that way online. And we're marketing this in various ways among some of our staff weeklies, some of our resident newsletters, as well as through social media. And so getting into some of the high-level updates that we have, we are proposing one new activity for HUD approval this coming plan year. This is going to be our early engagement program that we'll talk about or go more in depth over a little bit later, but this activity is something that we've had before. It was implemented around the 2013-2014 plan year, but then it had to be closed due to COVID. But the organization is now beginning to propose to bring it back. This activity establishes a requirement that applicants among our waitlist complete a set of courses before they are admitted into our public housing or housing choice voucher programs. And it's just a one-time class that's designed to introduce incoming applicants to critical topics like tenants' rights, housekeeping, safety, security, financial literacy, among others. This activity will not apply to elderly or disabled incoming residents. And it is an activity that we bring about to hit that self-sufficiency statutory objective to ensure that residents that are coming in are able to work towards becoming self-sufficient and kind of moving on from our services. And then when we look at closing out activities, so our organization is looking to close out 2 activities this coming fiscal year. One of them is the elderly admissions preference at select public housing sites. This is a preference that we have initially implemented in the fiscal year of 2015, and we were looking to try to hit target ratios within our elderly public housing sites to try to hold an 80 to 20% ratio within those sites to kind of prefer elderly applicants and residents at those sites. Unfortunately, after internal communications, we have determined that this target ratio is very difficult to achieve, and we haven't been able to hold that target ratio. And we typically tend to exhaust our elderly wait lists much quicker, meaning that we end up having empty units or vacant units for longer periods of time than we'd like to. So we want to start being able to offer those units to others that may be able to benefit from our services. So we are planning on closing out this activity. And then another activity was implemented in fiscal year 2021. It's called the limiting increases in rents. This activity is actually being closed out, but most of what the activity entailed was to limit the increases in rents for our tenants, but it is kind of being recaptured under our fiscal year 2019 alternate recertification process activity. So most of the actual activity is still going to be within our organization. It's just being consolidated into one activity for easier and more efficient reporting. So as part of our development plan, the agency does have a little over 1,200 units in our expansion pipeline. And here you can see the breakdown, various units among Josephine, Snowden Road, Community, Palo Alto, Petrenko, Vista at Silver Oaks, Vista at Reed, and then we do have upcoming West Side Reinvestment Initiative, or WRI, units, which are affordable single-family homes that our agency has been working on. So, like I said, we do have a little over 1,200 units in our expansion pipeline coming in the coming years. And then among our expansion is our asset management plan. We do have 7 properties that are currently planned for tax re-syndications. A tax re-syndication just helps us to keep communities as part of our portfolio and also just keep them for low-income families rather than releasing them for to become part of the market rate. And so some of these communities have already been completed, including Alhambra and San Juan Square 1. Some of them are very much near completion, so they will be happening here within the next year or so, which include Artisan at Mission Creek and Alon Gardens. And then in our expansion pipeline, we do have Hemis View, Artisan at Creekside, Sutton Oaks 1, and the Park at Sutton Oaks, which will be combined with Sutton Oaks 1 to get that tax credit resyndication. And then as far as preservation in our public housing communities go, over the next 5 years, our organization does plan to invest a little over $62 million in capital repairs to extend the useful life of 23 properties and about 2,486 units to keep them up to date. As part of the MTW plan, we do have a section for our family self-sufficiency program. This is a program that is overseen by our Community Development Initiatives Department. This program does have an action plan along with it. This coming fiscal year, we do not have any changes to that proposed action plan. So you can view the full action plan in our draft MTW plan that is posted currently. And from here, I will go ahead and hand it off over to our operations support team.
Hello, my name is Reina Ortiz, and I am the Assisted Housing Program Policy Analyst. We'll be reviewing the proposed policy updates for the 2025-2026 Fiscal Year Administrative Plan, the policy document for the Assisted Housing Programs. As Nicholas mentioned earlier, we are now in our public comment period, which began on February 27th and ends on March 28th. If you would like to submit your feedback regarding these changes, you can email your comments to mtw@homesa.org, mail them to Strategy, Data, and Innovation at 818 South Florida Street, or you can submit comments online by visiting homesa.org/public notices. So the proposed policy revisions are aimed at accomplishing the following objectives: accurately reflecting federal regulations, state regulations, and local law, improving problematic policies, eliminating redundancies and contradictions, reducing unnecessary expenditures, and accommodating the needs of public housing and housing choice voucher participants. Next, I'll provide a quick overview of how Opportunity Homes policies are shaped. First, HUD regulations are stipulated in the Code of Federal Regulations with the General Program Regulations for public housing agencies to follow. Within the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, there is the Office of Public and Indian Housing, PIH, which periodically issues regulatory clarification, guidance, and recommendations, as well as new and updated regulations. Opportunity Home, as a public housing agency, has its own policies recorded in the ACOP and Admin Plan, which specifies the manner in which Opportunity Home administers its programs. All Opportunity Home policies must comply with HUD regulations. When Opportunity Home writes policies, it uses HUD-defined program rules that must be followed. These can be broken down into two types: mandatory requirements stated as the public housing agency, PHA, must not, or may not, and discretionary program guidelines stated as the PHA may. When Opportunity Home is given discretionary authority on a particular policy, Opportunity Home defines program rules while complying with HUD regulations in a clearly defined manner. On this slide, we have an example of the ACOP policy plan. Notice that in this example, there is the chapter number, chapter 3, and subsections 1D, a section heading, head of household, and a reference to the Code of Federal Regulations. If the text is shown over a white background, that means that the policy is specified in HUD regulations. Text shown over a light blue background includes an Opportunity Home specific policy. Other times you may notice text shown over a gray background. These gray boxes note an Opportunity Home moving to work MTW policy, which is a special designation Opportunity Home is granted and allows for program flexibility. A revision summary of all proposed changes is available at homesa.org/public notices under View Update Summary for your reference. This slide provides an example of how the revision summaries are formatted. All proposed policy revisions are indicated by red text. If the policy language has a strike-through line, this text is being removed from the policy document. And if the policy language is underlined, this text is being added into our policy. I'll now begin reviewing the proposed administrative plan policy changes. The first proposed policy change relates to informal hearings for expired vouchers. This change may impact program participants. Current program regulations do not require Opportunity Home to provide informal hearings for expired vouchers. This change would align our policies with federal regulations and allow staff to focus on required hearings instead. The next change relates to the MTW activity FY 2019-1 local implementation of SAFMR. This change would remove the exception overlay provision of this activity. The exception overlay provision allowed Opportunity Home to set higher payment standards in certain areas beyond the limits set by HUD. Recent updates to our payment standards have made this portion of the activity no longer necessary. Next, an update to the family obligations. Section 5.1c has been updated to include that guests of participants must also not engage in violent or drug-related criminal activity that threatens the health, safety, or right to peaceful enjoyment of other residents. Currently, our policy only covers participants. For the College and University Homeless Assistance Program, participants may be eligible for continued assistance past the time-limited amount. This change notes that if a participant receives extended assistance, the assistance must end 6 months after the participant's graduation. Next is removal from the waitlist. This update may affect applicants and current program participants. This change would allow Opportunity Home to remove participants currently receiving assistance from the waiting list. The removal would allow Opportunity Home to prioritize applicants waiting for assistance. Reexaminations for moves. The update to Section 11.1c may affect current program participants. The new language notes that Opportunity Home may use a previous reexamination or documentation to process a family move. Section 16.7d has been updated to clarify that Opportunity Home, as a moving to work agency, has elected not to be scored by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, Section 8 Management Assessment Program, CMAP rating system. Instead, Opportunity Home may use a variation of the HUD indicators to measure performance. The final update is the new Section 19.6. This update may impact applicants and current program participants. This new section includes the policies for the administration of the mainstream program, including regulatory changes detailed in Notice PIH 2024-30 on voucher terms and extensions. Now on to Cherokee, who will be reviewing the ACOP and admin plan proposed revisions.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cherokee Varela, the policy analyst for the Public Housing Program, and I'll be going over some proposed changes to both the Public Housing Program policies and the Assisted Housing Program policies. The first change that applies to both programs is the update to reasonable accommodation responses. This update may impact current residents and participants as well as applicants. The language will be revised to allow Opportunity Home to respond to participants or residents within 30 calendar days from when they submitted a reasonable accommodation request instead of the previous 10 business day policy. And this update allows for additional time to provide missing or incomplete documentation in order to fulfill reasonable accommodation requirements. The next update that applies to both programs is the informal hearing response policy. This update may impact current residents and participants, and the language is being updated to allow for informal hearing requests by the residents and participants to have a decision notice provided within 15 business days as opposed to our current policy, which is 10 business days. And this update aligns with other public housing agencies' standards and recommended by housing organizations. The next update is to local residency preferences for admissions, and this may affect applicants for both programs. The ACOP and admin plan will be updated to include language that establishes a local residency preference for the San Antonio area. And this residency preference would allow Opportunity Home to prioritize the housing needs of local San Antonio residents first. Okay, and the last update that applies to both programs is the update regarding Early Engagement Program, or EAP, and this change may affect applicants for both programs as well, and will add language to include the new policy for the Early Engagement Program, which will require applicants selected from the waitlist to attend an Opportunity Home sponsored briefing before or after determining eligibility for participation. And these briefings will focus on introducing incoming households to topics like tenants' rights, housekeeping, and financial literacy. Next, I'll be going over the proposed policy updates for the admissions and continued occupancy policy only, which is the policy document for the public housing program. The first update that is being proposed is an update regarding determining bedroom size and may affect applicants and residents. The language will be updated to clarify that Opportunity Home may allow a living room to be used as a sleeping or bedroom space, but no more than 2 persons may occupy that space. And this update aligns with the current policy for the assisted housing programs that's in the admin plan. The next update is regarding the number of unit offers for applicants. And the language here will be updated to allow Opportunity Home to extend up to 2 unit offers to applicants instead of the current policy, which is only offering 1 unit. The next policy update is regarding removal from the waitlist, and this is relating back to the early engagement program and states that an applicant who fails to attend a required EAP briefing may be removed from the waitlist. Okay, next I'll be going over the proposed policy revisions to the public housing lease, which are also available for comment during this public comment period. Okay, the first update is related to drug-related criminal activity, and this change may affect current residents. The lease will be updated to include new language that clarifies that drug paraphernalia may be considered when assessing circumstances of drug-related criminal activity. The next update is regarding the accidental discharge of a firearm on Opportunity Homes public housing premises. And language will be added to lease part 2 to state that residents may be terminated for accidental discharge of a firearm at Opportunity Homes public housing communities. And this is to ensure the safety of residents. The next update is regarding upholding evictions after a transfer. And this change may affect residents. New language has been added to lease part 2 to clarify that if a notice to vacate is issued to a resident, it will be upheld at any property they transfer to while the case is pending. And the last change to the public housing lease is regarding garage and yard sales and may affect residents as well. This update allows residents to hold a garage or yard sale if they request approval from their community manager and have all applicable permits required by local law. And I'll pass it back over to Nicholas.
Alrighty, thank you to you both. And so for the next steps, this is getting to the end of our presentation. So for next steps, as stated, our public comment period is ongoing and is going to be going on until March 28th. You can email your comments to mtw@homesa.org, or you can mail your comments physically to Strategy, Data, and Innovation here at our central office at 818 South Flores. You can also go online to view all of these documents, including the draft MTW plan, the revision summaries, and so you can go to homesa.org/public notices to view all of those documents. Throughout all of the rest of March until March 28th, we will be capturing any public comments that come in. We will be holding a public hearing at our Operations and Real Estate Committee board meeting on March 18th. And then on April 2nd, we will move for board approval of our MTW plan to then submit the MTW plan to HUD by April 15th. Throughout May and June, we will be working with our MTW HUD office to address any issues or concerns or questions that they may have, to then begin implementing the MTW plan by July 1st. If you do have any questions, you are also more than welcome to email us at that mtw@homesa.org email, and we can clarify anything that you need throughout the rest of this public comment period. But otherwise, we thank you all for viewing, and we hope you have a great day.